Enzo Maresca won his first game as our new manager in absolute emphatic fashion as we destroyed, annihilated, and ran through Wolves in their own stadium by beating them 6-2. We learned a lot of positives and a few negatives in yesterday's emphatic win, and in today's video I'm here to discuss the 5 key things we learned in Chelsea's 6-2 performance against Wolves. So I hope you guys enjoy. Hit that like button, share your thoughts and opinions, and let's get straight into things. Now, for the first thing we've learned, have we seen an idea behind how Maresca is set to use Joao Felix this season? The moment the entire fan base have been waiting for finally happened against Wolves as Felix made his re-debut against Wolves. This time he did not disappoint. There was no red cards, only one goal in which he scored in absolute aplomb and amazing fashion. But what was interesting for me was that I thought when he replaced Nicolas that he may continue to play that false 9 role. Instead, Maresca moved Cole Palmer up front to play as false 9, and then Joao Felix then took on Cole Palmer's role in the team in that game, where he had a lot more license to roam, to find dangerous areas to receive the ball. If you guys look at the heat map on screen, you can see that Felix didn't necessarily have any red zones in any particular area of the field. Instead, he had the license to receive wide left, wide right, as well as anywhere in behind Wolves' midfield line. So essentially, he played that offensive 8 role, and I think throughout the season, I'm expecting Felix to maybe play in that position as a false 9, and occasionally out wide when the opportunities arise. Maresca said before that he's very familiar with Joao Felix, and we did sign Felix because we feel like his game would really complement and suit this positional play system. So listen, there's a lot more to expect from Felix, but it was nice to see him kind of immediately integrate himself in the team. He looked quite natural. It was nice to see him combine with teammates around him. We saw a few nice touches, a few nice half turns. It was a very exciting performance that left you wanting more, and I'm really hoping that we get to see him start the game against Servette in the next few days. So that's a massive thumbs up for Joao Felix. And to move on to the second thing we've learned, Caicedo was not at it yesterday, and I'm gonna have to give him a thumbs down. I have to say he was one of the most disappointing performers yesterday. I thought in the first half he was pretty atrocious, to be fair with you. Yes, he did slightly improve in the second half, but the performance boost wasn't enough to completely eradicate and forget how he played that first half. Now, yesterday, we played more of a 3-3-4 system. You had Enzo Fernandez playing on the left side, Malo Gusto played more as a midfield player on the right-hand sides, and Caicedo was the enforcer in behind them in those central areas. But interestingly, when you look at his defensive contributions compared to both Enzo and Malo Gusto, you can see that Caicedo made only 2 tackles in that game. But what's pretty interesting is that when you compare his defensive contribution against both Gusto and Enzo Fernandez, well, you guys can see it on screen, right? You can see right here, 47th minute, he wins a tackle but does not win back possession. In the 41st minute, he gets dribble passed. The only time he wins a tackle whilst winning possession came in the first few seconds of the game. Not once did he make any key defensive contributions. He did not win any key tackles or break the play up in front of our defense. And Caicedo plays a big defensive role, especially in this makeshift midfield, as he is the enforcer. He must be that general that the team can rely upon to make those key defensive contributions when it really matters. And when you compare how Enzo Fernandez and how Malo Gusto played, yes, most of their actions were out wide, but their defensive actions far exceeded what Caicedo produced against Wolves. 6 out of 11 tackles won by Enzo, 5 out of 7 tackles won by Malo Gusto. On top of that, he was very sloppy with his use of the ball. Yes, Wolves' system was based on aggressively pressing us in those central areas, and I do feel like they did start to target Caicedo and our midfield quite a lot with some very rough treatment at times. But as you guys are seeing on many occasions when it came to Caicedo receiving from our defense and playing us forward, he was sloppy with his use of the ball, he'd get dispossessed very easily, and he got dispossessed in a way which led to Cunha scoring a goal from that mistake. It was not the most charismatic performance from Caicedo, and this season he will have strong competition from Romeo Lavia. He was very unfortunate not to play against Wolves yesterday because he has a very slight and minor hamstring issue, but already during pre-season and against Man City, he's showing more aptitude when it comes to breaking the play up in those central areas. A lot more compared to what Caicedo is showing right now. Now yes, Caicedo's pre-season wasn't ideally perfect, but equally, some of these mistakes are pretty sloppy. And he regularly put the team under pressure, and it did feel like he was starting to lose his confidence a lot in that first half, because after a while, he stopped looking to receive for the ball. He was hiding behind Wolves' press, and I felt like, in general, the performance wasn't ideal, and I'm expecting a lot more from Caicedo. Now, for the third thing we've learned, is Enzo Maresca showing signs that he's preferring using a false nine in his system. Now yesterday, Nico Jackson played the false nine role, or the deep lying forward position, to absolute perfection. He scores one of our earliest goals that we've seen in the Premier League since Alvaro Morata's goal against Stoke City, showing his improvement in his aerial game. He then contributes later on by making a great timed run in behind after Robert Sanchez plays an amazing pass, which allows Nico Jackson to flick it onto Cole Palmer, and then Cole Palmer produces a finish that would have made Frank Lampard very proud. Nico Jackson really showed us what life could potentially look like if we decide to commit to using more of a false nine setup under Enzo Maresca. Maresca said time and time again, he's excited by the squad because of the amount of players who can play in many different positions to a high level. And when you have players who can do that, systems that involve using a false nine do start to become a bit of a possibility. Now, as I mentioned earlier, our shape in most of that game, especially for the first 60 minutes, was more of a 3-3-4 shape, before players like Felix, Neto and Nkunku coming on made it more of a 3-2-4-1 system. But I'll focus on the 3-3-4 shape because, as you guys can see with the pass maps, look at where Cole Palmer and Nico Jackson were positioned, look at how the wingers are holding the width right now, and look at the three-man midfield with the three-man resting defense too. It creates a lot of great balance. And we saw the same setup used against Inter Milan in our final preseason game, and I felt like we had a lot of control in midfield, we created a lot of danger in the wide areas, and we had good balance across defense, midfield and attack. Nico played one of the key tactical roles in that win yesterday, because when he dropped deep, what was happening was he was taking out a Wolves defender who would follow him all the way up the field. And by doing that, it created the overload possibilities in behind for a Cole Palmer, Madueke, another midfield player, and Mudryk as well. And for one of the examples in which we scored a goal, it directly comes from Nicolas Jackson dropping to the halfway line, taking out that Wolves centre-back. And then look at the smart run in between the defenders made by Cole Palmer, which then releases Noni Madueke in space, in behind, who's running on goal. Time and time again, Nico was a great outlet for us, and by playing as a false nine, we essentially had another build-up option because Nico was finding great positions in behind Wolves' midfield lines to receive, touch and go, and that created so much for us when it came to playing through them. But outside of just dropping deeper into our own half, Nico showed that positional fluidity. A lot of times when a Madueke or Cole Palmer moved inside the box, Nico would move out wide to the right-hand side. I feel like this is a role that really complements the technical capacity of Nicolas Jackson. I would say that Nico is one of the rare strikers in this league that has the technical capacity to affect the game in many different phases. Out wide, deeper as a link-up option, by running in behind. And now that he's showing early signs of development, would it be a mistake now to consider signing a Osimhen who, yes, could be far more developed right now, at the expense of allowing Nicolas Jackson to flourish more, but most importantly, at the expense of allowing Enzo Maresca to continue this false nine experiment so we can really see just how far we can explore things by maintaining this way of playing. Time will tell, but it was a very exciting, fluid, offensive performance yesterday. And a lot of that came from having a false nine that was really key for us getting that win against Wolves yesterday. Now for the fourth thing we've learned, Noni Madueke is ready to blow this season. Hearing what I'm saying, I've said numerous times, if you watch how he ended last season, he was a player on the rise. If you look at how he was developing his partnership and relationship with Cole Palmer, you would know that there was a lot more to come. And yesterday, this was the Cole Palmer and Madueke show. As Noni said after the game, I'm fire. Palmer's cold. Palmer always knows when to play the right pass at the right time. Luckily, everything works out today. Now for myself, I think Noni was being a bit too humble because I don't think luck really played a big part. You create your own luck when you put the work in, and Noni has shown that he's a player that not only has very strong belief in himself, but he is someone that is ready to put in the hard grind, the hard hours, the hard work to fulfill his ambitions and potential to becoming one of the elite wingers in Europe. He's always had that ambition, and are we seeing early signs that he has that type of potential in his game? Now, yesterday was the first hat-trick he's ever scored in his career, and already his percentiles from FBref this season are looking absolutely nuts. Look at his offensive contributions. Look at his percentiles for possession and take-ons. Most importantly, look at the work he's putting off the ball as well. Outside of giving away a very silly free kick, which allowed Wolves to equalise before the half-time whistle ended, stats-wise, he scored 3 goals from an expected goal threat of 0.58. 38 touches, 1 key pass, 5 shots on goal, only 1 shot was off target. Funnily enough, 0 dribbles were completed, but it's not that surprising when you realise that not once did he overplay his game, and instead of over-dribbling, he was taking his shots off early, hence why he was rewarded with 3 goals in that game. I predicted that he would have great success under Maresca, and right now it does seem like he is thriving now. That's 4 goals in the past 2 games, 3 goals scored with his weaker right foot. Now under Maresca, he loves to release his wingers into space, into wide areas. This allows his wingers to run towards a goal, take the opposition to the byline, and basically just make space. And for players like Noni and wingers like this is how they thrive. But I have to give this guy some praise now in terms of his work ethic and ambition, because he is a very hard worker. And every action we see in game is not down to luck, it's down to hard hours he is putting in. I mean, you guys are seeing the clip on screen right now. This is the type of work he is constantly putting in with his personal trainer behind the scenes. And as you can see, great efforts have been made into adding another weapon in Noni's game. Now, if you're a defender up against Noni, your plan isn't just to block him off and take him to his weaker foot, because Noni now doesn't have a weak foot. Noni is equally 2-footed. If you want to take him to his right foot, he'll take shots off. And now he can execute these actions with the perfect technique at the perfect time. And we're seeing a different range of finishing techniques. It's not the same finish. We're seeing those low-driven power efforts to the bottom corners. We're seeing him open his body up to take these shots early into the top bins. We're seeing him strike the ball hard and low, but most importantly, we are seeing him taking his shots off earlier. Now, there's very fair comparisons you can make with Saka's shooting technique and what we are starting to see now with Noni Madueke. So I have to keep it real, I'm very happy for him because I always saw a lot of promise in this guy that made me have a lot of hope, and that hope told me to keep the patience around him. Now, you're looking at his heat maps, you're seeing that he's affecting the game in the areas you want to see. Look at the heat zones. Inside the box, he had the biggest heat zones in the box compared to any player in yesterday's game. He was constantly our main attacking weapon, peeling off into the spaces left and behind, having someone like Cole Palmer playing passes perfectly at the right time to find him. And now you're seeing Noni, who's getting the game more, simplifying his actions and picking the right decisions now. I'm very excited to see how he develops. And it's a reminder that you need to have patience to allow certain talents to blossom. It's not linear. You have to cultivate these talents. And at the moment, Noni is the immediate first choice player down that right flank. So keep up the good work, Madueke. And now we end things with the final thing we've learned. But is Pedro Neto set to kick Mudryk out the team? As we know yesterday, Maresca was not impressed by Mudryk's quality on the ball in that first half, and he was quickly subbed off for the start of the second half to allow Pedro Neto to come on and affect the game. And as you guys can see on screen right now, comparing the performances of each player's 45 minutes, I mean, you can't really compare them. Mudryk was on the periphery yet again, and as you can see from his heat maps, he's not really holding the width. He's not really offering anything centrally. You know, there's no red heat zones anywhere. It was very ineffectual compared to Neto's heat maps, where he knew exactly what he had to do down that left flank. Look at the areas he was receiving and attacking, and making things happen. Neto completed 1 out of 6 dribbles, which did surprise me, compared to Mudryk's 1 out of 2. But the touches make the difference, right? You know, Neto had 30 touches, 20 out of 21 passes played, 1 key pass, 1 big chance made, compared to Mudryk, who had 12 touches, nearly less than half, and only played 5 out of 8 passes. Mudryk got off 4 times as less passes than Pedro Neto. That's not good enough. Even Neto's defensive contributions were greater down that left flank, and right now I feel like the season's looking a bit long for Mudryk. He might be having a slow start to life this season. Hopefully he can snap out of that, because he's gonna have to now, with reports suggesting that we could be making a late effort for Jadon Sancho. This could take minutes off Mudryk if that deal goes through right. You ask yourself how much patience is needed when Neto, who's only been here for less than 2 weeks, already looks very familiar with Maresca's ideas and how to link up and combine with his teammates. Immediately, Neto is offering a greater outlet down the flanks, especially down the left flank, where he brings more assist-like qualities that support the team. And I think that makes sense if you have your left winger adding assists and your right winger adding the goals. Right now, I think Neto was a very shrewd and smart signing. We did great business to keep this deal under wraps to stop any competition for him. And I think as long as, fingers crossed, he can maintain his fitness, he will have a big impact for us this season. So my friends, that is everything we learned after yesterday's 6-2 win. Noni Madueke rightfully stole the show, and with the performance he showed playing as our wide forward, that's a performance that would make Mohamed Salah pretty proud. So hopefully we can continue this form now against Servette, score more goals against them, so we continue this form before we play our next Prem game against Crystal Palace. So my friends, I hope you guys enjoy the video. I'm Nini FC, this is Blue Lions TV. See you all soon. Cool.